So, before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves...
Just when you thought the Caitlin Clark saga couldn't get any wilder, the entire WNBA just imploded from the inside out. We're not talking about players throwing elbows on the court anymore. We're talking about something way more sinister, way more damaging, and honestly, way more shocking. Reports are flooding in that a brand new commercial featuring the Indiana Fever rookie has sent Commissioner Kathy Engelbert into an absolute meltdown. And this time, Stephen Smith didn't just hint at the chaos. He confirmed it. He pulled back the curtain and exposed the ugly truth that everyone's been whispering about for months. The league's own leadership is reportedly furious that their biggest star is shining too bright. Let that sink in for a second. The commissioner of a league that's been begging for attention for nearly 3 decades is now allegedly furious because someone's finally giving them what they wanted. This isn't just drama. This is corporate jealousy at its most toxic, and it's threatening to burn the entire WNBA to the ground. So what exactly happened? Why would a simple 30-second advertisement cause absolute chaos behind closed doors? And more importantly, what does this say about the future of women's basketball when the people running the show might actually be rooting against their own cash cow? Buckle up, because what we're about to uncover is darker than anyone could have imagined. Let's rewind for a moment and talk about where the WNBA was before Caitlin Clark walked through the door. For 27 years, this league has been fighting tooth and nail just to stay relevant. They've been on their knees begging networks for coverage, pleading with sponsors to throw them a lifeline, and praying that casual sports fans would give them even 5 minutes of attention. Ratings were abysmal. Attendance was embarrassing in most cities. And the general public? They couldn't name 5 WNBA players if their life depended on it. The league was surviving, sure, but it wasn't thriving. It was stuck in this weird purgatory where everyone acknowledged it existed, but nobody really cared enough to actually watch. Then came the unicorn. Caitlin Clark burst onto the scene like a meteor crashing into Earth, and suddenly everything changed. Sold-out arenas. Record-breaking television ratings. Sponsorship deals flooding in from every direction. Mainstream media coverage that the WNBA had only dreamed about for decades. She delivered viewership, she delivered sponsorship, and she delivered relevance on a silver platter. You'd think the league would fall to their knees in gratitude, right? You'd think they'd be rolling out the red carpet, doing everything in their power to protect and celebrate this once-in-a-generation talent. But instead, something absolutely bizarre started happening. Instead of celebration, there was resentment. Instead of gratitude, there was rage. And now, according to multiple insiders and confirmed by none other than Stephen Smith himself, that rage has reached a boiling point. A new commercial featuring Caitlin Clark just dropped, and apparently it sent Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the league's old guard into a full-blown tailspin. What could possibly be in a commercial that would make the people running this league lose their minds? Here's where it gets interesting. When you actually watch this commercial, when you see how Caitlin Clark is presented, it all starts to make sense. Whether it's Wilson, Gatorade, State Farm, or any of her other major brand partners, Clark isn't just shown as another WNBA player. She's not portrayed as a cog in the machine or just another face in the crowd. She's presented as a cultural icon, a singular force of nature. The production value is through the roof. The cinematography is stunning. And most importantly, she looks powerful, independent, and way bigger than the league she plays in. She's framed as the entire picture, not just a piece of the puzzle. For fans, this is awesome. It's hype. It makes you want to tune in and watch basketball. But for the executives at WNBA headquarters, especially Kathy Engelbert, this is an absolute nightmare. Why is it a nightmare? Because the league didn't create that image. They didn't authorize it. And most terrifyingly for them, they can't control it. When the commissioner sees Caitlin Clark in these high-gloss, big-budget advertisements, she sees something that keeps her up at night. She sees a player who doesn't need the WNBA to survive. Clark has her own economy now. She has her own gravitational pull. And that's where the rage really comes from. It's not just jealousy. It's a complete loss of leverage. Think about how sports leagues traditionally operate. The league controls the players because the players need the league for their paycheck and for exposure. That's the dynamic that's existed forever. But Caitlin Clark has completely bypassed that system. She's making more money off the court than anyone in the WNBA makes on it. Her brand deals dwarf her $76,000 rookie salary. She doesn't need the WNBA's platform anymore because she built her own. And for a league commissioner who's used to having all the power, that's absolutely terrifying. The timing of this commercial is what really set the front office off. All season long, the WNBA has been desperately trying to push this collective narrative. They've been constantly reminding everyone that it's not just about one player. They want you to focus on the history, the other 143 players, the system, the cause, the movement. They've been working overtime to make sure the spotlight doesn't shine too bright on any single individual. And then boom, this commercial drops and obliterates that entire narrative in 30 seconds flat. It reminds everyone, in the most visually stunning way possible, that there's one person driving this bus, and it's not the commissioner. It's the rookie with the ponytail from Iowa. The contrast is embarrassing. When you put the WNBA's boring, low-budget marketing next to Caitlin Clark's premier brand deals, it's not even close. The league looks amateur. They look out of touch. And that embarrassment is quickly transforming into anger. This is where Stephen A. Smith comes in, and trust me, he didn't hold back. Stephen A. has been defending Caitlin Clark all season long, but his recent comments took a darker, more serious turn. He's not just analyzing basketball anymore. He's dissecting the psychology of the people running this league. And what he's uncovered is disturbing. SAS recently went on record confirming that the vibe coming from WNBA headquarters isn't one of celebration. It's resentment. Pure, unfiltered resentment. He pointed out the absurdity of having a commissioner who's supposedly a business expert, yet she's acting emotionally compromised because one player is getting too much shine. Smith's argument cuts deep. He said the rage isn't really about the commercial. It's about what the commercial represents. It's a cover-up for incompetence. Every single time Caitlin Clark lands a massive endorsement deal or stars in a viral commercial, it highlights what the WNBA failed to accomplish for 27 years. It's a direct, painful reflection of their inability to grow the game. Imagine being Kathy Engelbert and watching Gatorade do a better job marketing your sport than you ever did. That stings. It bruises the ego. It makes you question your entire tenure as commissioner. Stephen didn't stop there either. He connected the dots between the boardroom attitude and what's happening on the court. He suggested that this anger from the top is emboldening the toxicity we've seen all season. If the commissioner is rolling her eyes at Caitlin Clark's success, why wouldn't opposing players feel comfortable taking cheap shots? It's a trickle-down effect of jealousy, and it's poisoning the entire league from the executive suite to the locker rooms. Smith essentially accused the league of wanting Clark to fail, or at the very least, wanting her to be humbled so they can regain some semblance of control. But as he noted, that ship has already sailed. The commercial proves it. The world is watching Caitlin, not Kathy. To really understand this rage, you have to look at the history and culture of the WNBA. For years, this league has been run by a specific group of people with a very specific mindset. They view the league as a cause, a movement, a collective struggle for recognition and equality. It's noble in theory, but it's also built on this idea that the product is the league itself. They sell the shield, not the stars. Then Caitlin Clark shows up, and she represents something totally different. She represents pure capitalism and individual stardom. She's not interested in waiting her turn or falling in line with the collective. She's a disruptor. She doesn't fit the mold that the old guard built, and that disruption is exactly what this commercial highlights. That it shows Clark as a singular force, separated from the pack, standing on her own. The WNBA leadership spent decades trying to convince the world that you should care about the league as a whole. But Clark's brand partners are selling her, the individual. That fundamental disagreement is causing massive internal friction. The old guard feels disrespected. They feel like all their hard work building the foundation is being ignored because some girl from Iowa can hit logo threes and look good doing it. Stephen Smith even drew a parallel to the Olympic snub. Remember when Caitlin Clark was controversially left off the Team USA roster? That was the same energy. It was the old guard trying to protect the hierarchy. They wanted to send a message. You have to wait your turn. You have to pay your dues. But here's the problem with that logic. Commercial deals don't care about waiting your turn. Brands pay for relevance right now, not 5 years from now. There's a massive disconnect between the slow-moving, seniority-based league office and the fast-moving, merit-based world of advertising. The commissioner is stuck in the middle of that clash, and instead of adapting, she's getting angry, let's talk money, because at the end of the day, professional sports is supposed to be a business. Stephen Smith has repeatedly called out the WNBA for committing business malpractice, and this commercial controversy is the perfect example. In a normal league like the NBA or NFL, when a player lands a massive national commercial, the commissioner celebrates. Because it raises the value of the entire enterprise. It brings casual fans to the TV. It sells jerseys. It creates buzz. So why is the WNBA leadership mad? Because they're not getting credit for it. Caitlin Clark's off-court earnings are dwarfing her on-court salary, and that makes the league look cheap and unprofessional. When casual fans see Clark in a $1 million ad campaign and then find out the WNBA pays her $76,000 as a rookie, it creates a public relations disaster. It highlights the wage gap. It highlights the lack of revenue sharing. The commissioner knows that every high-profile commercial Clark shoots is a reminder to the public that the WNBA doesn't pay its stars anywhere near what they're worth. It invites scrutiny. People start asking uncomfortable questions. Why is the league so broke if this girl is generating so much cash? Instead of fixing the revenue model and addressing those hard questions, the leadership gets defensive. Stephen argues they'd rather Clark be less famous so they wouldn't have to deal with the scrutiny. It's a scarcity mindset. They're fighting over crumbs while Caitlin Clark is out here baking an entire new cake. Now let's zoom in on the woman at the center of all this. Cathy Engelbert. She was brought in as a CEO type, someone who could crunch numbers and grow the business. But she's been completely outmaneuvered by the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Her reaction to this new commercial era has been frozen and awkward. This is the same commissioner who completely fumbled a simple question about the racial toxicity directed at Clark during a televised interview. She tried to give some corporate non-answer and it backfired spectacularly. Stephen hinted that Engelbert is raging because she knows she's on the hot seat. The owners of these WNBA teams are business people. They see the numbers. They see the chartered flights that Clark forced the league to adopt. They see the ticket sales spiking whenever she plays. If the commissioner is seen as an obstacle to this growth, if she's perceived as being petty about commercials instead of capitalizing on them, she won't last much longer. The rage we're seeing is probably fear. Fear that she's being exposed as the wrong leader for this explosive new era. Caitlin Clark represents a pace of growth that Cathy Engelbert simply can't handle. The commercial is a symbol of that speed. It's slick, fast-paced, and globally appealing. Meanwhile, the WNBA's official marketing still feels clunky and outdated. It's a clash of aesthetics, and the commissioner is losing badly. Instead of hiring better marketing teams to match Clark's energy and momentum, reports suggest she's just bitter that Clark is outshining the institution itself. We can't ignore the word jealousy. Stephen Smith has used it. Charles Barkley has used it. And honestly, it's the only word that truly fits the situation. Usually when we talk about jealousy in sports, we're talking about players. But what SAS is exposing now is that the jealousy goes all the way up to the executive suite. Why would a commissioner be jealous of her own player? Because Caitlin Clark wields more power than she does. When Clark speaks, the world listens. When Engelbert speaks, people tune out. That's a tough pill to swallow for an executive who's supposed to be the boss. This new commercial cements Clark's status as the undisputed face of women's basketball, regardless of what the standings say. The league office spent years trying to manufacture stars, trying to tell us who we should root for. Then Clark showed up and became a phenomenon organically. The rage we're witnessing is the rage of a micromanager who's lost complete control. They can't tell Clark what to wear, what to say, or who to sign with, because she doesn't need their money. That independence is viewed as a direct threat. You can even see this manifested in how the league handles social media. Fans have documented all season long how slow the WNBA's official accounts are to post Caitlin Clark highlights compared to other players. It's petty, it's childish, and it's coming straight from the top. The commercial pours gasoline on that fire because it's something they physically cannot shadow ban. It's on every television screen in America. That here's the most telling part of this entire saga. When this new commercial dropped, did the WNBA's official account repost it? Did they congratulate their biggest star on expanding the reach of the game? Did they issue a press release celebrating the partnership? Silence. Complete radio silence. In the NBA, when Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum drops a new signature shoe or stars in an ad, the league amplifies it immediately. They understand it's good for the entire ecosystem. But the WNBA's silence regarding Caitlin Clark's commercial victories is absolutely deafening. It confirms everything Stephen A. Smith has been saying. You only ignore your biggest star's success if you're bitter about it. This silence is actively damaging the league's relationship with its fan base. The millions of new fans that Clark brought in aren't stupid. They see the double standard. They see the hostility. And they're starting to view WNBA leadership as the villain in this story. By refusing to embrace the commercial, the commissioner is essentially drawing a line in the sand. It's us versus her. And as Stephen A. Smith warned, that's a war the WNBA will absolutely lose. You cannot fight the zeitgeist, but here's where it gets even darker. We have to connect the boardroom rage to the on-court violence, because this is the most disturbing part of the theory. If the commissioner and league office are openly resentful of Clark's commercial appeal, it sends a subconscious message to the rest of the league. It's okay to go after her. If the commissioner treated Clark like the jewel she truly is, it would set a tone of respect and protection league-wide. But by acting cold, by raging against her marketing success, Engelbert effectively removes any protection around Clark. We've seen the hard fouls. We've seen the blindside hits. We've seen the eye pokes. And after every single incident, the league's discipline has been slow and pathetically weak. Stephen argues this is all connected. The leadership doesn't want to protect the player who makes them feel inadequate. They're letting jungle rules apply to Caitlin Clark because deep down, they want to see her struggle. They want to see her knock down a peg so they can say, see, she's not that special. But every time she gets back up and shoots another commercial, it proves them wrong all over again. It's a toxic cycle of violence and resentment, and it's putting the entire future of the league at serious risk. There's another layer to this rage that we need to talk about, and it's called leverage. A new 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled is launching soon, founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. They're offering massive salaries and equity stakes to players. Caitlin Clark is the biggest free agent target in the entire basketball world right now. The WNBA commissioner knows Clark has options. Real options. If the WNBA continues treating her with hostility, she doesn't have to stay there forever. She could play in Europe. She could dominate in Unrivaled. She could literally start her own barnstorming tour and sell out arenas coast to coast. This commercial is a reminder that Clark is a free agent in the world of business. The rage stems from a terrifying realization. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. But Caitlin Clark does not need the WNBA to be wealthy, famous, or successful. That power imbalance is absolutely terrifying for a traditional sports league that's used to holding all the leverage. Usually, the league holds the keys. But in this case, Caitlin Clark holds the keys, the car, and the deed to the entire garage. The commercial is a flex. It says loud and clear, I am the economy. And for an office full of executives who are used to calling all the shots, that reality is infuriating beyond measure. Stephen A. Smith isn't alone in holding the WNBA accountable. He's part of a new wave of media that's treating this league like the big leagues, which means the kid gloves are finally coming off. For years, the WNBA was covered with extreme caution. Nobody criticized the commissioner. Nobody questioned the quality of play. Because everyone wanted to support the cause. But now that there's real money on the line, the gloves are off. Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and Pat McAfee are calling out the dysfunction, the jealousy, and the incompetence in real time. And the league has no idea how to handle it. The commercial that broke the camel's back isn't just an advertisement. It's a symbol of everything the WNBA could be if they just get out of their own way. Instead of celebrating their biggest star, they're reportedly seething in boardrooms. Instead of capitalizing on the momentum, they're building dams to stop the flood. And if they don't change course soon, they're going to drown in their own bitterness while Caitlin Clark sails off into the sunset, laughing all the way to the bank.